Aloha, and good afternoon, everybody. By way of introduction, my name is Dr. Jim Rowe, and I work with an international outdoor adventure kind of a program called Outward Bound. How many of you guys have heard of Outward Bound out there? Yeah, quite a few of you. Well, it used to be that Outward Bound focused mostly on programs for young people who made decisions that may not be in their best interest. Now Outward Bound, we're located in about 35 different countries throughout the world, and we have a lot of study abroad programs. So students who are in university go to our programs to learn about the cultural history and the natural history of the areas that we are going to be visiting. My educational background, I actually finished high school and went to university in Hawaii at a very small university on Oahu's North Shore called BYU Hawaii. How many of you guys have been to the Polynesian Culture Center? Several of you guys. So you guys know kind of the relationship between the Polynesian Culture Center and BYU Hawaii. That is where I did my undergraduate work. Later on, my graduate degree is in an area called Applied Eco-Psychology and Integrated Ecology. Now that's basically kind of a little bit of cultural anthropology mixed with natural history. And so basically my entire professional life has been focused on teaching university students, specifically Outward Bound students, about cultural history and natural history, specific to tropical regions. I worked and lived in Polynesia, including Hawaii, as well as Central America and the Caribbean and several other kind of tropical regions. Hopefully my presentations will kind of open your eyes to, in the case of this particular presentation, the way that Hawaiians see things. You see, we as humans, we are kind of a product of our nature as well as nurture. The way that our parents raised us is reflected in the way our outlook on life. But there's also a certain genetic kind of aspect in the mix as well. Native Hawaiians look at life in a way that is different than their U.S. mainland counterparts. And I think Kainoa does a fantastic job at bringing to life the Hawaiian culture. He is Native Hawaiian. He was born and raised in that culture. I personally spent several years of my formative years in that culture. My stepfather is actually half Hawaiian himself, but I'm definitely a haole. I'm from the outside to a certain extent. But as a cultural anthropologist, I think I have a good vision of their unique way of seeing life and living, etc., etc. Hopefully today's presentation will kind of bring that to life. The image that you see here, this is a kahuna. Now, when we talk about kahuna within the Hawaiian culture, the term kahuna, it's almost been kind of, hijacked by Western culture. Kahuna is a man or a woman of a great level or stature of knowledge and information. Kahunas usually are older. They've been around the block, if you will, and they have a strong amount of mana. And we'll talk about that concept of mana in just a few minutes. But the image that you see here is basically of somebody reciting the Kumulipo. Now the Kumulipo is the song of creation. It talks about the source of life. It is an ancient Hawaiian meleoli, or a chant, consisting of over 2,000 lines. Now the ancient Hawaiian kahunas or priests would memorize every word and recite the oli at important events, such as, for example, the festival of the god Lono. And for those of you who know a bit about Hawaiian history, you know that the festival of Lono just happened to coincide with, James Cook's original visit to the Hawaiian Islands happened to coincide with that festival, for better or for worse. But anyway, this meleoli talks about the origin of the Hawaiian people. Now, it's universal amongst human culture to have a belief in the origin of themselves and an origin of their landscape. All native peoples have a belief system about this. We, as Judeo-Christians, and I suspect that most people in the audience are Judeo-Christians, we have a belief that's based on the Bible, from Genesis. And that story, or that legend, or that myth has to do and talks about Adam and Eve. What I would propose to you is that if you open your minds and basically say, hey, listen, I believe maybe in Adam and Eve, but the Hawaiian people, their belief system is just as legitimate as my belief system. And one of the beliefs, as far as creation of the reality for the Hawaiian people, is based on this chant, this particular chant, and it kind of goes a little bit like this. At the time when the earth became hot, when the heavens turned inside out, when the light of the sun was weakened, causing the moon to shine, the time of the rise of the Pleiades, the time of the night darkness, the realm of the gods, the time of Po. The slime was the source of the earth, the source of this deep darkness, the source of the darkness, born of darkness, the depth of darkness, darkness of the sun, darkness of the night, the time of Po. There was nothing but darkness. But then the night gave birth. Born on this night was Kumulipo, the source of life. Male was the source. Born also was Po'ele, night, blackness, female. So you see here, early on in the creation myth or the creation story or the creation reality, you have male and female. Because without male and female, you cannot have other life. Now, something that is quite different from Genesis, where Adam and Eve came together and they were cast out because they were being bad, if you will. Within the Hawaiian concept, it took male and female coming together. Because you see, in nature, male and female coming together, uniting, that is what creates life. In another presentation, I'll talk about the Polynesian concept and the Polynesian outlook on life and living being a balance between male and female, this yin and yang, if you will, that the two of them are vitally necessary. And in that sense, sex, copulation, the coming together of male and female are not seen as something that is evil or bad. And so the native Hawaiians did not have that concept of male and female sexuality being evil and bad. That was something that was brought in by the Europeans. That was brought in by the missionaries. So let's continue. United became male and female. Night followed night. Born to the darkness were the eternal spirits. This was the beginning of the earth itself. Born were the plants. Born were the fishes of the sea and the animals that swam in the air. Born were the creeping things, the birds. Born were the crawlers. So see, now we have the animals coming forth. But still it was night, for such was the time of Po, where it was still dark. Tranquil was the night, as the night pressed forward. It was calmness when the wombs gave birth. So was born the ancestor of the race of humans, the race of Hawaiians. And well formed was this child, the first chief of the dim past, who dwelt in the cold uplands. This was the time when men multiplied, when men came from afar, born of woman. But also, note this, of man, born of woman, but also born of the gods. They were born in the hundreds and in ever-increasing numbers. It was the time of Ao. It was day. Isn't it an amazing fact that when you look at these native Hawaiians, years and years, generations before Darwin introduced the idea of human evolution, the Hawaiians had keyed into the idea or the concept that the creation actually happened with a type of evolution. Evolving, or the things that were first created were basic life forms. And then later on, more and more advanced life forms. Now there's a big difference between the darkness, or the creation that happened in darkness, and the creation that happened during the light. During the day, that's when humans came into being. That's also when reason and when spiritual essence, if you will, ended up coming into reality. That first time period is called Po, the age of the spirit world. Things were created, but in their spiritual form. Everything you see was still in darkness. Lower life forms came into being. Life forms evolved and they developed, but it wasn't until you had the next phase, the second time period, called Ao. This is the period that begins with the coming of light. So now the evolution